Hey, what's up everybody? It's Andre with AndreReese.Biz. All right guys, I don't have to keep saying this, but I'm gonna say it because it makes me feel good about myself. I am definitely your favorite cyclecaster out here on these RVA streets, Richmond, Virginia. And actually, I don't even think anybody else out here is doing what I do, you know, so, but brother definitely enjoys it. So I'm back on my, well, let me just do this real quick. Let me just go ahead and jump into the topic so you guys know what's coming up today. Today we're gonna talk about gotta keep trying. I'll talk about that and the subliminal messages I'm gonna leave for you guys and all these videos. And one of the things I've talked about with a number of different people, they've asked me recently is, you know, one of the things that we do oftentimes, me and Marilyn, is that we fly on separate airplanes to separate locations. So I'm gonna kind of talk to you guys about the logic behind that and also getting upgraded and how that works when you're traveling with a spouse or honey boo boo, etc. I'm also gonna talk about the autopsy report that took place with the DNC recently. So we'll go over that real quick. And then we'll also talk about another funny topic, which is I actually took a leak or peed at the White House. So that's what's on deck for today. And kind of to get into the B-roll here. So like I said, I'm back on my original summertime routine when it comes to riding, which means that I'm gonna try to ride early in the morning. And we had, at least since I've been here, there's been a couple other times, but we've had a significant thunderstorm yesterday. I mean, I have a lightning app that I keep track of the strikes and stuff. As they're coming, I get warnings and stuff. And we had a couple different heavy waves that hit our area yesterday. So typically, our heaviest rain comes in really May all the way through September, October, you know. And so what brother's doing right now is trying to prepare for that. And the rain usually comes every 2 or 3 days in the evening, you know, and so it makes it more difficult to ride. Plus the temperature is high and the humidity is high and all that as well. So what I found I should do last year when I started riding regularly was take off early in the morning and go ride when the temperature is low and the humidity is lower, and make a go at it by doing that. So that's what I'm doing. So right now I think it's close to 70-ish. We got some really crazy rain yesterday. It's been very, very humid lately. So we're definitely in our summertime pattern. And so I decided to go back and do my summertime route, which is I go down through Jackson Ward and then come right down through the downtown area. I'm right next to the arena on this side over here. You guys can't see it. So they're gonna tear it down and build something else. I'm gonna ride over to Carytown, ride the hill down, go on the Capitol Trail, and then end up down where I normally ride at. And so this route gets me about 600 feet of climb. Normally on the other route I get roughly about 500. So about a little bit over another 100 feet. And then the ride will be somewhere around 14 or 15 miles. And I think the other route that I normally would do would be roughly around 10 and a half, 11 miles or so. So yeah, there we go. That's what's exciting out here on these streets. And this is my first ride since Memorial Day. So I hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day with family and friends. And we had a great time. We had family over. And we also went to an event down the street, but it was raining that day, you know, so we checked out a concert about 5 miles from the house, or 5-minute walk from the house. And, you know, it was light raining and drizzling, a little bit cold. But you know, hey, take the good with the bad. It is what it is. And like I said, we had a great time, and I hope you guys did as well. And as we remember, you know, those that gave the greatest sacrifice. So that's what's up. So let's go ahead and jump into the first topic. So the first topic today is gotta keep trying. You know, so that means you can never ever give up, and if you hit a roadblock, you gotta turn around. And this guy right here, not paying attention. And let's see, it's a lady. So yeah, you gotta stay on high alert out here. You never know what's gonna happen. Even though I'm super colorful, people still don't be paying attention. So, you know, it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. So yeah, so let's get back to gotta keep trying. You know, so normally I have music that's underlying on all of my songs, and so on all of my videos. And what I typically do is I use a fade in effect or fade down. So the music will be initially high, as you guys have known, and then within maybe 15, 20 seconds or so, the music fades to quiet, and then I bring it back up at a low level, and it pretty much just keeps recirculating itself over and over within my videos, you know. And then towards the end, you know that the end is coming because the sound will go quiet, and then I'll fade it back up to a louder level. Then once I say peace, I'm out, you know, it'll do another significant jump, and then the music will roll towards the end. And so the other song I use this one artist, Liquid. All the information's in my caption. You know, I got to do that in order to not have a copyright violation. But it's very melodic music, and I love listening to it. And the one I typically use is Wannabe. And so now I've switched over. I downloaded this other song by Liquid, and I completely missed it. And I was listening to it the other day, and it popped up. And the song says over and over, gotta keep trying. You know, so I actually listened to the song for several days over and over on repeat, and it definitely speaks to my soul. And so I'm going to start using that song now in my videos, underlined. So like I said, it's subliminal, it's there, and I think the whole goal of everything that I've done with you guys, as far as like talking and having these conversations, is that no matter how bad things get in your mind, no matter how unpredictable things are, no matter how bothered and perturbed, you know, you can't give up. So that's the last thing that you should do, is give up. And, you know, I've got the entrepreneurial spirit where, you know, anybody that starts, you know, talking about doomsday scenarios, or they start to get into the point where they are, you know, doom looping, I always like, well, hey, there's a positive reason for this and a negative reason for that. So we just gotta keep trying and keep moving. So I never get to the point where I ever commiserate. I'm the wrong guy to do it with. So if you want to bring up something and say how bad it is, I'm the last guy to say, yeah, you're right. I'm always gonna shoot right to, I'm gonna skip right over the grieving part, which is what's happening, and go right to the results, you know. And well, this is what's happening, we gotta do this. This is what's happening, well, that explains that. This is what's happening, and well, sometimes it just is what it is. So, you know, all good, you know. But like I said, I've now changed the song on my videos, and so I've done it, I think on the last 2 or 3 videos. I don't know if you've noticed a change, but I definitely want to bring it to the surface now and let you guys know what I've done. So regardless of what happens to you in your life, you know, never give up, always keep trying. You know, so the message is simple. I can give you 1,000 examples of how you should keep trying. But, you know, there's enough in this world for you to be able to see. And the simple fact that I'm even out here today, you know, I haven't been able to ride over the last week or so because we've had rain, and I don't want to ride in the evening because we have a risk of thunderstorms and stuff like that. Brother doesn't want to get hit by lightning. So I can't tell you how many times me and my wife were like, let's go ride. And we get going, getting ready. And then like within 20 minutes it's like, we got to call no joy and call it off because conditions are rapidly changing, you know, so, and I didn't give up. I just kept trying to see if there's another scenario that may work. And sure enough, a brother already had a disaster scenario already planned. I just had to remember what it was, which is essentially just, you know, ride it in the morning and, you know, getting out before the bugs and the heat and the humidity and making it happen. So, you know, this is definitely an example of how I put boots on the ground and keep trying to make it happen. So I encourage you guys as well, no matter what aspects of your life you're dealing with, whether it's kids or aging parents or, you know, it's work, you have a car that keeps breaking down over and over and over, you know, don't give up. Never give up, and try to see if you can figure out the failure point and keep working through it and keep trying. You know, so let this song that's playing here, let this be a motivation for you to never give up. So there you guys go. That's all I'm gonna say about this one here today. And let's jump right into the next topic. So the next topic is me and Marilyn, we often fly on different planes to the same destination. You know, so, and a lot of folks, Sub Rosa here is open. We got to come down here and get some Sub Rosa. We used to come all the time when we lived right down the street. They have an incredible bakery. They had a fire and they shut down for like 9 months while they rebuilt. And you know, they're back open now. So we got to come down here and probably ride our bikes and just have a Sub Rosa and ride it off and go back home. You know, so all good. So yeah, so let's talk about, like I said, we oftentimes fly on different planes when we go someplace. So like, for example, this last week, the prior week, Marilyn and I went to the Bay Area. So she had a conference, I tagged along. There's some business I needed to take care of while I was there. I originally had planned on going in September, you know, but if we went in September, you know, you got to pay for my airfare as well as her airfare. And if we're able to travel, which we do often, on the company's dime, her company, you know, she's got to go someplace for business, and I essentially just tag along. She does her work during the day. I do my work also as well in my business. And then a lot of times in the evening, we'll hang out together, or I'll accompany her to some of her company events or whatever it might be. And it works out great. And I get a chance to see a new city, see a new state, potentially visit a new country. So it's fantastic. And so this time when she flew, her company put her on Delta Airlines, and I ended up flying American. So, and we ended up leaving. And typically what happens is, when she tells me she needs to go someplace, I'm like, cool. I wait until her company books her for the flight, and then I will turn around and wait. Let me see if I can make this light here. I don't know if I can or not. I think I can. All right, here we go. All right. So her company will book her, and then once they booked her, she'll send me her itinerary. Then I turn around and find a corresponding flight. So her company will book her on any legacy carrier for the most part. Delta, United, American, you know, that provides the cheapest fare within policy, whatever that might be, based on distance or, you know, time in the air, etc. You know, so, and all good. So her airline can be any different airline, doesn't make a difference at all. And so with me, I currently have the highest status available on American Airlines, which is Executive Platinum. So with Executive Platinum, I get a number of benefits that folks don't get at my level. I can have up to, so if you want to take a bag on almost any airplane now, you got to pay for it. And so if you want to take a bag on American, they charge, oh shoot, they can change this up down here. Let me see if I can figure out how to get through here. Okay, I can still go. Let me just figure this out here. Okay, so they just shut the road down temporarily in a couple spots. Okay, all right, so we're good. Yeah, brother made it through, all good. And so, like I said, they'll book her on any available airline. And with American, I have such a high status that if I want to take a bag on a plane, typically a regular customer wants to take a bag on a plane, they're limited to a 50-pound bag, and that 50-pound bag they got to pay for. And each individual bag over one, you got to pay for. And then if your bag is over 70 pounds at the gate or over 50 pounds at the gate, there's a fee you got to pay in addition because you have a heavy bag. So with my, and then also too, depending on what type of ticket you get, you can be, you know, anywhere between boarding group number 1 all the way to boarding group number 9, I think, which is the last one. And so by the time you get on the plane last, all the overhead space is gone, blah, blah, blah. And so no matter where I fly, I'm guaranteed to have, I'm guaranteed boarding group 1. Doesn't make a difference, you know? And so I always get to get on the plane first, even if I'm gonna sit all the way in the back by the bathroom, you know, I get to get on the plane first. All good, and I appreciate that. And if I end up taking and having, you know, luggage, I can take up to 3 bags on the plane for free, and they could be up to 70 pounds, you know. And so it's nice to be able to pack what you want, throw it in the bag, and not really have to worry about the weight. So that works out itself. And then the other benefit that I get is on domestic flights, there's essentially 3 classes of seats. So you're gonna have their business class or domestic first up front. We're all familiar with that. You know, you get on the plane, everybody's looking at you in your eye, telling you should have made better choices. Then right after that, right after the curtain, you're gonna find distance 5.0 miles, duration 20. Oh shoot, I've already ridden 5 miles already. Seconds. Okay, so right after that, you're gonna find the Economy Plus or the Preferred. And so they're the same seats as you would normally get in economy, but the only difference is you got about 6 to 8 inches more leg room, which makes a big difference. And so then finally after that is regular coach, you know, which is, you know, very tight because there's not a lot of leg room in front of you, especially if you're tall. And so I'm always guaranteed at my status level for paying for a regular coach ticket, I'm allowed to sit in the preferred section, you know. So when I was flying back and forward to California, I was on a very competitive route for upgrades, so a brother didn't get to have an upgrade, but I sat in the preferred section for 5.5 hours, and it wasn't bad. I just sat there, chilled, minded my own business, did my thing, and the extra leg room in front of you, kind of makes a really, really big difference. And I got up a couple times and walked to the back to take a leak, and you can see everybody else just crammed in their seats. And that's why that's one of the reasons why I will oftentimes fly separate from Maryland. So if her company books her on the same airline, I will go ahead, which is American, I'll go ahead and book travel and match her flight. And so what I do, and like I said, if they don't, then I'll always fly American. Then the other thing too is when I have American, between flights, we typically fly into Charlotte CLT. There's usually a long layover. I have lounge access, which is great, so I don't have to end up waiting. So the experience that I have riding on American is automatically at a higher level. There's less friction than the average person that's, flying on American. So that's why I choose that. And then plus on top of that too, with my status, it's performative. I got to get as many miles as possible, loyalty points, whether it's through purchases on the credit card or it's from flying, to be able to come up to at least 200,000 loyalty points a year. So it's a hustle, and I plan out everything that I do, and everything I do is strategic. So part of me being able to get the status, because I have accelerations from buying on the card and then buying, flying American and having the card, just additional multipliers that I get. So I think like the trip I took down to California and back, I think I earned, just in loyalty miles, I think I earned, I think it was like 11,000 or so. Good morning, how you doing? It was 11,000 miles, plus all the other additional multipliers I got from buying the tickets using my card. I think I got 5 times. So if I paid 1,000 for the ticket, I think it was about what I spent. I got like another, I got a 5 times multiplier. So I got 15,000 miles or 5,000 miles. So in the end, this trip gave me 15,000 miles with American, which is great. And so I can use those for tickets in the future. We have a really, really big trip that we have planned coming up next year. And all of it is essentially free because I had 750,000 miles that I cashed in. So that's what the goal is. And then also too, the other thing that happens is there's been some times before in the past where, well, the thing is, they typically try to fly Delta all the time, and Maryland has status on Delta. And so no matter where they first book her, she always gets upgraded to preferred economy or first class, or domestic first class, or domestic business. And so if I'm sitting next to her in the back by the bathroom, they'll tap her on the shoulder before the flight starts and she gets an upgrade. And so oftentimes we would end up flying at separate parts of the plane. And if she gets an upgrade when she flies, we have kind of we've never really discussed this, but it's kind of the way it is. If she gets an upgrade from flying, she takes it. She doesn't have to turn it down, turn it over to me, none of that kind of stuff. She gets her upgrade, she's earned it. She's had her behind in the seat and flown. I didn't do that. So, and then the same thing would happen with me, that if I got upgraded on a flight, I take it. I'm not turning it down. I'm not sitting in the back by the bathroom. None of that kind of stuff at all. So we don't put that pressure on each other at all to make life or death relationship situations. And so my chances of getting upgraded on a flight with American is almost 50 to 60% is about what it is. You know, so a lot of times if I fly, I'll get 4 legs, I'll get upgraded on 2, sometimes 3, and so Marilyn gets upgraded all the time as well. And so that's kind of what we do. And like example, when she ended up flying, she gave me her itinerary. I found an itinerary that matched exactly what so we really essentially took off within 20-30 minutes of each other in Richmond. I think actually within an hour. And then we were supposed to land about the same time, but her flight was delayed. And so with me, when we flew back out, we landed within 30 minutes of each other, and she took off first from SFO. And what I typically try to do is I try to generally take off after she does to make sure that she's cool, and then oftentimes land before her or land after, but the combinations just didn't work out this time. So that's kind of how that all played out. So yeah, so that's what we kind of do. And then anytime that we're flying together on a joint trip, if we're going to go together and it's pleasure or personal or whatever, we are going to fly American because I have the guaranteed experience that will be beneficial to both of us. So we get to get the lounge access together. I can bring her in there, and then I get up to 3 bags that we can take for free, up to 70 pounds. That benefits her also as well. And because I get upgraded so often, so easily, oftentimes she gets upgraded with me also as well. So it just all works out that way. And then it allows me to continue to earn miles very easy, and then also all the multipliers, which are great and fantastic. That stuff all works out, really well for us. And so that's why we do fly on 2 separate planes, all good, and we do fly together as well. But if we ever flying separately, it's usually because what happens with her, it's a business flight for her at work. And then the other thing too is there's been many times, well, not so many times, but it's happened a few times where I booked the same flight as her. This happened early on when we were trying to figure all this out. I booked the same flight as her, then her company will end up canceling her flight and booking her on something completely different because it's a better rate or a better fee. We end up flying separately anyway. So by doing it this way here, this allows us to maximize the point yield as much as possible, allows us to have as much status as possible as well. Because even with her, she has a card that she gets free lounge access, but it's pretty much limited to her. And so if she wants to use the lounge and have me come with her, there's only a certain number that she gets a year, and then she has to typically pay for me. And so it's just not worth it at all. And so that's why we choose to fly American. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's the story behind why we sometimes fly on different planes to the same location. And it'd be interesting to hear what your guys' thoughts are when it comes to getting upgrades. How do you guys deal with it if you're a couple? Do you surrender it, give it to your lady, or do you keep it, kind of a thing? So like I said, what we do works for us, and be interested to hear what works for other people in these situations. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's the topic on choosing to fly together separately. All right, so let's talk about the 3rd topic here. So we're all aware that the blue team has been trying to do everything that it can to rise from the ashes and become victorious. And I don't expect anything less from them. Anytime any opponent is on the losing side, they're going to do whatever they can to try to figure it out and make some changes. All good. And so after the last election that took place, they came out with an autopsy report. I don't know if that's what they call it, but if that's just like a play name for it, if it's a real name. But what they did was, how you guys doing? What they did was they figured out, or they tried to figure out what happened and what went wrong with the election. That way they can hopefully turn around and fix those problems and rectify them and do better and be victorious next time. You know, so, and I had a chance to take a look at the report, and I would recommend to all you guys to, you get a chance to take a look at the report. So this place right here is coming along really nice. This whole area here, they're redoing it. It's gonna be like a park area with restaurants, with overlooks. I think it's supposed to be done at the end of this year or spring of next year. So it's a multi-million-dollar expansion and upgrade to make it more fun and enjoyable down here. So very, very cool stuff. But so essentially, if you listen to me from the beginning, I went back and looked, when the election ended last time, where it was November of 2024, I did a post where I had went out and voted, and I was like, man, I'm so happy that this, you know, cycle is over. I'm breathing a sigh of relief, just like most Americans are. We don't have to go through this anymore. It's just been intense. And the one thing I said was, you know, the majority of America, you know, said that they prefer a conservative agenda over a liberal agenda, you know, or progressive, or however you want to stretch it out, you know, democratic, socialist, you know, with all the different variations on the blue team right now. So they essentially, the red team essentially, the water down here is really high right now. Very, very high because of all the rain we got. So, and so the red team, they ended up sweeping everything. They got the popular vote, they got all the swing states, you know, electoral college, everything. They took it. And then they ended up taking the trifecta, the House, the Senate, as well as the White House, you know. And I said, you know, ultimately in the end, they produced a better political product. And I had hoped that the blue team can go back and lick its wounds and do some soul searching, take some accountability, and come up with a better political product that the majority of Americans wanted and would stand behind. And so I wasn't very specific. I've been specific about a few things here and there, you know, but things could swing either way. And so you have to figure out what the majority of Americans want and then deliver them what they want as well. And so this whole thing with the autopsy report, they essentially broke it down and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. These are the things that we ended up messing up real bad on. And from what they say, that they didn't necessarily want it to be released, and eventually it was leaked, and then finally it was released. But it does show that there's a lot of things that the blue team did that's wrong, and they were ineffective, and a lot of things that, and it's not necessarily just like one thing that caused people to you know, vote for the red side. It's like a comedy of errors and mistakes and miscalculations and over leveraging expectations, when those things ultimately in the end were no longer in their favor. So hopefully what they'll do at this point now is that they will go ahead and take a look at the report and be honest about it and try to do something to build a better political product. That way they can be a lot more competitive. And so I think, and most importantly, what they said the one thing overlying is that there wasn't necessarily leadership and a solid agenda that the majority of Americans could get behind, you know. And so hopefully they can take a look at this stuff and make some changes and look at the man in the mirror and figure out, you know, a better way to kind of go about it. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. And so, like I said, when it comes to a poor post-mortem analysis, none of it makes any difference or makes any sense if you don't accept, you know, what happened and what went wrong and what's been going wrong, no matter who writes it, no matter who says it, no matter who talks about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. You know, so hopefully they'll take this to heart and won't look upon it as a quick fix guide to kind of shore up a couple things here. And hopefully, like I said, in the end, there are competitive races. And like I say, I'm not about, you know, fear. I'm not about emotion. I'm not about people. I'm all about policies over, what is it I say? I say policies over people and feelings, you know, and so I think that's what most people are after. And this is a whole new part of the ride here I've never done before, so I hope you guys are enjoying this here, going along this this wall, all good. And like I said, you know, I wish them well. And you know, the one thing that's for sure, two things are certain and one thing for sure, is that the red team right now definitely dominates a lot of stuff. And the direction that comes down from the red team right now, the one thing that the blue team has done during like the last 6 to 9 months, they've talked about if our people that we have in office are not doing what we say and what we require, we're going to primary them. And so that means when the next primary comes up, when there's an option to vote somebody else in their place that follows their agenda, that's the first thing that they're going to do. And I don't think that they've been successful in making that happen at all. And I'll tell you, the one thing is right now, no matter how you look at it, the red team, if Trump says this, all he has to do at this point is say, hey, I endorse this person over that person, and we can see example after example after example of folks that ultimately ended up, you know, getting primaried and lost out. So, you know, all good. I'm gonna turn around here. This guy down here is spraying some unknown substance. I don't want to get that on me at all. You know, I'll come back and do this another day. You know, and it looks like it only goes so far, and there's like a big set of steps I got to climb. So, yeah, I'll come back another day when I'm feeling a little bit more adventurous and check all that out. But yeah, guys. So, you know, like I said, they have example after example after example where if you don't fall in line with what the spirit of the party is right now on the red side, you will lose your office, you know. And I'm not gonna, there's no need for me to be specific about anything or analyze any of that stuff. It's just stuff that's all happened, you know. And definitely amazing, you know, to see what's going on out here with the river and the spillway and everything. Very, very cool stuff. So let me come over here real quick and see if I can show you guys. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, so that's it for that topic. You know, let me just make sure the camera can reconnect here and I'll show you guys what's going on out here. It's beautiful. And the water doesn't normally get out here this far, but it is right now. I'll just turn it around. There we go. You guys can see what's going on down here. The river is flowing heavy. This is the James River. It's definitely awesome and incredible, you know. So there you go. Very, very cool. And I'll keep the camera forward here for a second while you guys kind of see what's going on. And then there it was down there where the little John Deere was. So I'll ride down there another day. Looks like they're building some high rises and apartments over here. So very, very cool stuff. Gotta love Richmond, Virginia. This is just an incredible place to be. I definitely really appreciate it. So that's it, guys. So the autopsy report is out. I always encourage you guys to read it yourself. And at a minimum, at least go to Gemini or ChatGPT or one of these other LLMs and just say, hey, summarize the high points of the what's going on down there? Summarize the high points of the, the autopsy report and give me an executive summary, and then read through that. You can see it for yourself. And if there's some specific stuff that you're interested in, go to the report itself. I think it's about 200 pages. You can look it up and see what's going on. All good, so there you go. And I think, let me get into the last topic here. So, all right, this is topic number 4 for the day. So and it's kind of an odd and unusual topic. The topic is, I actually peed at the White House. There you go. So this is a very funny, interesting story. And I got a chance to recently, and I think a lot of this kind of goes to how territorial us men are and what we do to leave our mark in some of the unusual ways. And so I got a chance to go to the White House recently, not too long ago, and within the last 2 or 3 years or something. And they have normal tours of the White House where it's essentially guided. There's certain areas that you get to see, and there's a whole bunch of the White House that you don't get to see. And then there's another tour where if you're in a close association with somebody that works there or they're part of the staff, that they are able to bring in their family members to get more of a behind the scenes look at the White House. So you can get the chance to walk by the Situation Room where all the different things unfold. You get to walk by the areas where they have the different, there's the hallway that goes to the Oval Office, and if the president at the time is not in there, a lot of times you get to go in there and see what's going on. You get a chance to look at the press pool room, which used to be a pool, and they built the press room on top of it. And so that's the most famous spot where they're always doing the conferences. You get to see the spots outside. And so there's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that you get to see visiting where the chambers are. So a lot of stuff that you see on television when they're at the White House and doing things in the White House, you get to see all that stuff, kind of behind the scenes. In certain areas, you're allowed to take pictures of. Other areas, you're not, and it's a very cool experience to be able to see the actual spot where most of the power in the world emanates from. And, and the one thing you think is the White House is huge. It's not. It's very small. And in comparison to what you would think it would be, I don't know how many square feet it is, but the actual area is pretty small. And a lot of folks that see it for the first time, that's one of the things that they say, like, wow, it's so small here. And another area we got to see where the mess area was, where they have the kitchen and you can order food and eat. So it was very, very cool. And then within there, you get to walk by some of the executive staff that have their offices actually in the White House. I think there was the White House press person. I don't know who he is by name, but he's got his office there. You can see all the different pictures and kind of like the working arrangements of what he's trying to do. So these things are all there. It's all wonderful to be able to see. And so when I was there, I was just fascinated. Wherever I was allowed to take a picture, I took a picture. I really did. It was just stunning and enjoyable. And so I think one of the pictures has me, I actually took, is up on my website as the banner up on top, where I'm sitting there in the press room. There's nobody there. And my wife, she is my traveling photographer. And so I say probably at least 50% of the pictures that I post, she took, you know, and especially all the ones where I'm standing there and it's behind me and I'm in the shop by myself. You know, Marilyn does an incredible job, you know, and I utilize her services as much as possible. So I really appreciate everything that she does. But like I said, I took that picture. It was one of my favorite ones at the White House. And it's on my website and it's there for you guys to see. And I think what I'll do is I'll probably try to end this video early so I can maybe run through some of the pictures. Let me just look and see how I'm doing here for time, you know, and then that way you guys can see some of the stuff. But one of the things that I did when I was there, I was like, I didn't have to, but I was like, let me go to the bathroom and take a leak. And so I said, and so I asked them, I said, where's the bathroom? Then they pointed me to it, went in there, very nice bathroom, marble and all that. And you know, it's old school. It's got the historical charm to it. You know, so it's not like one of the modern bathrooms. So it was very, very nice. Everything in the White House is immaculate, you know. And so I'm in there looking around at everything. I go to the bathroom, take a leak. And at that moment I felt satisfied because I was like, you know what? I think at the time Biden was the president, and I said, I have taken a leak at the same urinal, because there's not a lot of them in there, that Biden has, Obama has, President Ford had, you know, you can kind of run down the list, Clinton, you know, all these guys have all taken a leak. And this is probably one of the most powerful toilets that have received urine in the world, you know. And then you think on top of that, all the foreign dignitaries and that have come over and stayed at the White House and been at the White House for whatever reason, they've all, you know, been to that toilet, you know. So it was a very, very satisfying feeling, and I had a little smirk on my face at the time, and I ended up coming back and telling my wife at some point, I was like, hey, I peed in the same spot that all these other presidents have, you know. And she was a little bit amused with me and all that, but it's almost like, this is a thing? I'm like, yeah, it's a thing, you know. And then so I was talking one day to one of my friends, and I'm not even gonna give any clues to who they are, but they've been to the White House before for on official business, and they were there doing their thing, and then once they were done with their official business, it was time for them to go. And the same thing, he said he did the same thing. He's like, I went to the bathroom and I peed. So we had a laugh that lasted for days about that. I was like, dude, I was right. So not only have all these famous people peed, I peed where you peed, and we all peed in the same White House. And so we've marked our territory. And these are stories that we can tell the next generation about, you know. And so, and I'll tell you, we went across over to the Eisenhower building, and this is on the weekend, so there was really nobody there. We went through all the different floors where everybody has their office. And at the time, Kamala was the vice president. And so, I forget what her husband's name was, Doug, I think. He had they always give the first lady or first man an office as well. And so as I'm walking around in the area, checking everything out, and I'm looking, I'm fascinated to see, like, because it's a weekend, some of these areas are like top secret or whatever. You can't even go into them at all. So what they do is they take and put their garbage outside. That way, when the staff comes through at some point to do the work, they could dump the trash. And so I'm looking at what's in the trash. So I think I even took some pictures of what was in the trash. And so people drinking coffee, Starbucks, different types of coffee, snacks and restaurant throwaways. It was all so interesting. And like I said, as I'm doing this and looking around and being curious, you know, and trying to figure out patterns and realizing in the end, these are all just people under a lot of stress. You know, I was like, all right, cool. And I look up and lo and behold, there's the first man's, here, hang on a second, all kinds of dirt here, whew, coming off that truck. I look up and it's the first man's office. So Doug, I think that's what his name is, Doug. If not, I'll correct it down here in the bottom. But, and it said his name, and he had, like I said, his office. And right across from it was a, right across from it was a bathroom. So I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. So I went into the bathroom, looked around. I was like, I know he has come in here and urinated at least 1,000 times, you know, if not more. And famous people that came there to see him, they went there also as well. So I went and left my mark in that bathroom as well, looked around at the stalls and, you know, the history that's in the room, and kind of thought back about how all the people that I can think of that are relatively famous political wise and all that, they've probably been to that bathroom also as well. And if that's where Hillary's office was, when Bill would scoot down the hallway to come see her, he would go there and take a leak also too before he got in his limousine and left, you know. And so I'll tell you, when you look at it this way, this is where the lesson is, you know. So we see all these things on television, and we see all these people on TV, and we see all these different occurrences that happen on television and YouTube and social media. But in the end, these are all done by people. We're no different than the other person or the people that are there. In the end, in the morning, like they say, when you wake up in the morning, you gotta get dressed and you gotta, you know, put your pants on one leg at a time. And everybody's gotta go to the bathroom and take a leak, and everybody's gotta poop. And if they don't do these things, you know, your time on this earth are very, very limited. So keep these things in perspective as you idolize or as you demoralize people, that in the end, we're all the same. And because we've had different advantages in life or disadvantages, our outcome is often different. But just because you're in an area of the life where you're on top of the world, that doesn't guarantee that you're always going to be able to be there. And the reverse goes, that if you're in the bottom, you know, how you doing? If you're in the bottom of the world, there's no requirement that you have to stay. So, like I said in the very beginning of this video, tying this together like Dave Chappelle, you got to always keep trying and never give up. And, you know, and because you're someplace right now, there's no guarantee that you're going to stay there, and there's no reason that you have to stay there. So you got to rely upon yourself and look at what other people have done that are successful and try to mimic them. Get yourself a mentor. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, all good, call me. Let's talk. And so we can develop a relationship. Like I said, all the time when I have my clients, they have the ability to call and talk to me about almost anything. I'll share my vast knowledge of information and perspective and experience with them. And if you're not a client of mine, no worry. You can become a client later on, but you can always book a consultation for 1 hour. We can sit down and talk and discuss your situation. And I can give you some basic guidance on where you need to be and what you should do, what you should consider. And then from that point, it's up to you to get the game plan going and get yourself on track. So like I said, 195 for about an hour. Hit me up and I'll let you guys, I'll definitely be more than happy to try to work with you and get you aligned with where you need to be. So that's it for me today. Got the 4 topics out the way. Stay tuned real quick. I got enough time to add a couple of my White House pictures. I'm gonna throw those up real quick. And I appreciate you guys as always. Take care of yourself. And like I said, keep trying. All right, guys. Peace. Gotta keep trying. Gotta keep trying. All right. In my life. Oh, shit. Okay, my brother fell. This is black ice. Okay. All right, I'm okay. All systems check. All right, I'm good. So let me just penguin it.